Previously on X-Men.
The podcast that looks back on X-Men comics, movies, shows, characters, and more. And you can find more about this show and others like it at our network's website, radiomeanwhile.com. Other shows on the network include Three Nice Things, where we force ourselves to say three nice things about a movie with a bad and often earned reputation. There's Is It Classic, Does It Rock, where we pick a band or artist and go through the discography, album by album, track by track. And 90210, Here We Go, a 90210 rewatch podcast.
I like the new inflection on your intro, Eric.
Thank you.
It was nice.
Well, I'm tired, so I'm trying to combat that. Share your thoughts on this and upcoming episodes by following us on Facebook and Twitter at Previously on X. Please rate, subscribe, and share this show on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. I'm Eric Mickles, known online as Dust vs. Tweak, and with me is my co-host,
Hilary Gunning.
Normally I say Hilary
Normally
Gunning, and then
you
you say
it.
hi. But
yeah,
I was like,
this time we're mixing it up.
Today, we're talking about the 90s animated series with the episodes Captive Hearts and Cold Vengeance. That's episodes 5 and 6.
I had no response.
Yeah, you did not care for that. Whether you're watching them on DVDs or some other thing, or you have the new Disney Plus app and you're watching those, though, definitely stay with us because the Disney Plus episode order is a mess.
Yeah,
it's
I keep
crazy.
seeing article after article,
yeah,
tweets
about the real
complaining about it.
See, I thought when I first saw the Disney Plus thing, I was like, oh, they still didn't put Repo Man or No Mutant is an Island in the right place. But then I went through and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
all of these are out of order.
It's all bananas.
Once you get to like the third season, I think, is where things get real messy. So
Why does that happen?
I have no idea.
I mean, it honestly seems like you'd have to try
Yeah.
to put things all shuffled like that.
I actually watched today's episodes on the Disney Plus app to see how it worked.
Really?
Yeah. I think I actually prefer the DVDs still.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, because I like my physical media, but I noticed some buffering with the animation. And since the animation's a bit older and, had some budget restraints, buffering does not, or even just like a slight internet slowdown does not help. So
I had to sift through my DVDs,
I know.
my VHS tapes, and a little bit of streaming to figure out exactly where I was going to have these episodes.
You have
landed on DVDs.
Congratulations. You did it. You found it. You have X-Men Evolution, at least the first season on DVD?
I think I have the first 2 seasons of Evolution.
No, the second season wasn't on DVD.
Well, I have 2... Maybe it's 2 sets that make up one season.
Yeah, that was how... Because season 1 was like, here's 3 episodes on one DVD.
Yeah, that could be it.
So it's that, and then like the third season. Seasons 2 and 4 of X-Men Evolution are just, good luck. Get them on iTunes or now Disney Plus. Yeah, so I'll have to.
I don't want to get Disney Plus.
Well, you'll just have to come over and we'll all, as all friends, we'll just sit around and watch X-Men Evolution. 2
together.
Episodes.
That's not the weirdest thing we've all done.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I don't know.
It'll be great because the first season of X-Men Evolution is just like, here's one episode for one character for 13 episodes.
I like it though. I still like that show.
But we're not talking about X-Men Evolution.
Yeah, why'd you even bring that up?
We're talking about the 90s episodes.
90s, which is so cool.
Yeah, like I said, we're talking about Captive Hearts, which was January 30th, 1993.
You had a weirdly hard time reading that date.
Yeah.
January.
I just took my glasses off.
30. Oh, there's a legitimate reason.
Yeah,
okay.
this episode was written by Robert N. Skur and Marty Eisenberg.
Jesse Eisenberg?
No, Marty Eisenberg.
Oh, his brother.
Jesse Eisenberg.
Jesse Eisenberg's brother.
No. Jesse Eisenberg would be so little as this was happening.
Yeah.
He'd still be in diapers.
And small and writing for the 90s.
Writing for the 90s animated series.
Series.
You're like, what if Wolverine had a telephone?
He was a visionary.
That looks like Wolverine. A Wolverine phone. X phone.
Okay, Cold Vengeance, which was February 6, 1993.
By Michael Edens was the writer on that one. Captive Hearts is the Morlock episode. It's our first Morlock episode.
Yep.
I didn't write this down because it's just coming to me now. It's weird for your 5th episode or your 5th story of the X-Men to deal with Morlocks. It seems pretty early on to bring up the whole, like, Morlock thing. Because, like, the Morlocks only really represent this idea of, like, the pretty mutants live on land and the X-Men are pretty mutants and this other thing. It feels like there's deeper issues and characters to deal with first.
Yeah, well, I guess I see what you mean because it would sort of... In a typical show, you might have them deal with just the regular X-Men mutants against humans kind of thing for a while, like a season and a half. Yeah. And then you find out that there's even this underground thing of mutants. And what? It's the thing that would add more of a layer later on.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, I have more to say at the end when we're done with both episodes.
Well, I can't wait to hear it.
All right. Fun thing about Captive Hearts, I had a picture book of this as a kid.
Like a kid's book?
Yeah, like just a kid's, like, Storm is afraid of tight places.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why.
These mutants aren't suitable for living on the surface.
A lot of my early X-Men impressions are from that book and maybe like another one that I had. But like I didn't watch the cartoon as a child.
Yeah.
Like we talked about that. Like as a kid, I never knew when TV was on. We probably didn't even have cable. So like I didn't watch like the Batman animated series a lot as a kid or anything. I just watched whatever was on the TV
at the moment.
And also X-Men always, I think I talked about the cartoon always like left me as a very as a child like this show's adult as a
it is.
Right, yeah. But so it left me kind of like intimidated as a kid. And then like I could go back to our introduction episode, I believe, the very first episode of Previously on X-Men, where we talk about it, because that's about how I interacted with the show as a small child. But I had this book for some reason.
That's so funny.
Like, I knew about Storm. I must have known
You knew about Storm and her, like, inner psychology?
Yeah, I've always known about Storm and her claustrophobia. I must have known about Wolverine then as well.
Yeah.
But I had this also. I got it on VHS right here.
On VHS.
We were just making fun of your DVD sets. How this is just one episode.
That's one
25
episode?
minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that. Tape number 4.
Holy cow.
There you go. Actually, I think this is how I rented it too. Like the first time I saw it when I was rewatching
Blockbuster?
it. Yeah, or whatever my video store was. I don't know why. You could get Night of the Sentinels Part 1 and 2 in one.
I have when I was digging through my VHSs for the
you have the
ones
Pizza
for
Hut
week,
one?
I must.
The red one?
I have Night of the Sentinels
Part 1 and 2.
on like 3 or 4 of those VHSs.
Yeah.
And all like different covers and stuff.
I have the way you've complained about how you've seen Night of the Sentinels
so many times.
I think these 2 episodes are that for me. I think I've seen Captive Hearts and Cold Vengeance more than any of the other episodes without meaning to. And I'm just like, why these 2
Yeah,
so
I've
much?
definitely seen them a lot too. I wonder if they just aired certain ones more.
It's
for
strange.
Some reason.
So yeah, I had the X-Men picture book. The episode and the episode of Captive Hearts opens with like them in the danger room. Did you notice the previously on X-Men when it showed it's all like dialogueless?
Yeah, I did notice that.
It's just watching action scenes and like it's so straight. But then you hear one person say something at I can't remember who the character was.
Oh, I don't remember. But like you'd think maybe there'd be a voiceover or something. But yeah, it's completely silent.
It was strange.
Yeah,
I thought
it's interesting. And when that came up, it just made me think again about how serialized this show is already.
Well, you know what's funny? Like, because the way we record this, it has been a while since we watched one. And I was like, oh yeah, what happened? I was like, oh wait, it's the first 4 episodes. I remember what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting where there was no dialogue. So if you're just a kid, you're like, wow, a lot has happened or something. I don't know who any of these people are.
Show up in the danger room.
The danger room.
And I'll say, I immediately wrote down that it's all women except for Gambit.
Yeah.
And I watched the Ninjago movie today with my son, and one of the things that I noticed was that there's like 5 or 6 ninjas, and one of them is a girl, and it's like, great.
Hilary, that's just the way things are.
It's the funny one, it's the stupid one,
right.
It's the like whatever one, and the girl one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like...
She was the 1960s
in the
gene.
90s, X-Men was doing this right.
Yeah, we talked about that with the pilot.
Yeah.
And then pretty much everyone.
It keeps coming up. I love it. I want to high five all of these people.
Maybe, I guess I just don't notice it when it happens now.
You're just so woke.
I didn't notice it when it happened in this one. I think it's just because when you watch this show, it's just such on a regular basis.
Yeah.
It becomes like you don't notice it unless you watch anything else, like you said. Like you watch Ninjago and suddenly you realized it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if all you're watching is this cartoon, you just get used to like Wolverine trying to open something, he can't, and Rogue's like, I got it.
Yep.
That's funny.
It's pretty cool.
There's like the tentacles going on, those metal tentacles.
Oh, yeah.
And Jean's like, you picked the wrong X-Men, and then she's instantly knocked over.
Well,
and then again, she's instantly knocked over again.
They're all kind of beat up in
That's
the danger
true,
room. The very first thing that comes out, Gambit is right there front and center. He just gets wiped out.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't even have a second.
Yeah. Gambit's... Yeah, Jubilee's in there, right?
Jubilee's in there. I actually think she does okay.
Yeah.
I don't think she gets wiped out too much.
Really, it's just like Rogue and Storm holding it up for everybody else.
Yeah.
As they're all getting beat up.
They bring up Storm's claustrophobia again.
Yeah. Well, instantly, it's brought up because of the walls are closing in.
Right,
I remember that from my picture book. But also because I just watched the episode.
You can probably see all of the pictures in your mind.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it makes me wonder if I don't remember enough about the arc to know if they keep planting that for an episode to focus on that later.
Next time we do this, it will come up again, but I don't know if she's like ever like, I'm cured!
Okay.
Small places are just that. Small places!
They're simply small.
I think this is the last time I'm going to tease Jean. Because in the early season, when she's not
just
Phoenix...
Just going to set it aside after that?
After this, I won't make fun of Jean this episode. When they're all standing there ready for the danger room, they're all doing like a power pose, like Gambit's charging his cards and Jubilee's got her fireworks. Jean just has her hands out. There's nothing going on. There's no like blue energy.
It's her brain.
I know. It's just...
She uses her mind.
The same thing happened in X-Men Apocalypse. At the end, they're...
The movie?
Yeah, the movie. Because at the end of that movie, Mystique's giving that speech like, you're X-Men now. And like Nightcrawler's in his costume. He's all ready to pounce. Cyclops' visor glows. Jean just stands there and looks.
Yep.
And I'm just like, poor Jean, unless she's in Phoenix mode and surrounded by fire, she has no pose.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So this is the last time you're going to make fun of Jean.
Hold on. I believe so.
Because I might step in there.
Okay, good.
Into that.
Yeah. And then they're training, and like Xavier's explaining to them how the danger room works. He's like, "This is real. Don't slack. You could be killed. Remember Morph."
Yep. Remember what happened to
and
Morph.
It's just like, remember Morph. It just happened.
It just happened.
And not in the danger room.
Yep.
It was just kind of like, I'm sure they're still mourning Morph.
Yeah.
It's just
they're like, low blow, Xavier.
Yeah. They were doing great in the danger room until he said that.
2 days ago.
And Jubilee's just like, I thought I had moved on. I'm just trying to live my life.
I'm having flashbacks. I'm a child.
Speaking of flashbacks, your walls close around. This is where the danger room session ends because they close around on Storm. And she's like, it's too much. And she gets her flashback of her being as a child.
With red hair.
That's what I thought too. She's not only is she has red hair as a child.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know what the heck. I think that was just an animation
weird
flaw.
Choice.
Yeah. It has to be, but I had to like do a double check. I'm like, was it just like transparent and see-through? No, it was. She's a redhead.
Yeah, it looks
as a
like
small
she's
child.
a redhead. Yeah.
That's part of her comic origin too. That she was an orphan because she lost her parents when her village was bombed.
Oh,
and
okay.
So that's where her claustrophobia comes from.
Knew that.
Yeah, so that it's not just the fact that she's like afraid of tight spaces. As a child,
she had
was trauma, and her parents were killed in it. So maybe you should be a little bit slower to tease Storm.
I didn't say a single thing.
Storm says it. She says she's like, I can't be a leader because of my claustrophobia. And I'm just like, I think you could still be a field leader and have claustrophobia.
Well, at the time though, I mean, we've talked about Wolverine and his
fear of flying.
What am I thinking of?
Metal bones.
Dang it.
It's heightened
PTSD.
Senses. Oh, right.
We talked about Wolverine and his PTSD and how like at certain times when they've dealt with that, it might have been kind of early. Mm-hmm. And this is even earlier than that.
Right.
So I think at the time, I mean, obviously you can still be a leader if you have claustrophobia,
right.
but I think at the time that might have been a conversation rather than such an obvious thing.
It just seemed like such a blanket thing.
Yeah.
Like, well,
my claustrophobia.
Yeah. Well, what about when we're outside and we're fighting Sentinels?
That's a pretty good Storm, I just
That was pretty good, yeah. Wind, deliver me! Also, one thing I like about this version of the X-Men is Wolverine is still like the comic book, like the 80s comic book Wolverine, where he still needs to heal.
Yeah. He still needs some time.
He's still recovering from just like Sabretooth.
From episodes ago.
Yeah, just the Deadly Reunion, Sabretooth like slashed him open and then ran away. But it was just like one slash. But it was, it must have took a pretty good chunk. They're probably mopping up
still got
pieces of Wolverine.
So the next scene is Jean showing up to watch Wolverine exercise, I guess. And he's got his bandage because he's still healing. Yeah. And she just wants to check on him. Bless her heart.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't she say so? She says something very... Her tone, whatever she says, it was very flirty.
Her tone is always flirty. And then she always acts like, oh, why does he love me so?
Listen, the Cyclops is waiting for me, so am I. I was just like,
my gosh.
Dang.
Yeah. So am I.
Yeah. I just thought, I was like, this is a sexy scene. Yeah, I thought.
It is.
So,
I
mean,
it
was
not
just...
withdraw the way
No, not right away. She's like, oh no, but I can't. She's like, oh dear.
But shall I?
Yeah.
No, I can't.
For like a kid's show, that like, so am I. I'm like, whew.
I know.
That's a steamy line.
It's very steamy.
So, and Jean's like, but I have to go on this boring date with Cyclops.
Oh, poo.
Yeah. Meanwhile, this hunk of a man is working out and is like, he's not just like standing there healing.
Yeah.
He's
working
can
out
I
in
fight?
some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but meanwhile, she's like, I gotta go listen to Cyclops droll about tax returns or something. And Cyclops he delivers on not being a good date in this episode.
Yes, he does.
They leave the movie and he's like, huh? Oh, I was just thinking about
it's
how terrible it is to be a mutant.
Yes.
It's just, I get it. You need to hammer home the point that Cyclops is like this and being a mutant is hard.
Well, and he's just constantly thinking about being the leader and, like, stressing out about that kind of thing.
I feel like with the whole Wolverine is in love with Jean subplot that is in this episode, maybe show one or two things of why you would want to stay with Cyclops over Wolverine.
Now, but they weren't leaving a movie; they were leaving Phantom of the
Opera. Okay, Wolverine wouldn't go to the opera.
Which fits in nicely with the theme
it sure does.
of the episode.
That's true.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, we see Leech. Do you like Leech?
He's cute. He's a cute little kid, you know.
Leech and Artie were a big part of, like, the 80s comics. I think Artie's the one who can only... His speech bubbles in the comics are images.
Oh, that's interesting.
He's got just, like, big, sad eyes. They're sad little Morlock-looking mutants.
Yeah,
so.
So he's stealing fruit.
Yeah.
And then... oh, my word. He steals the fruit. And then the biggest, most immediate mob of people appears to chase him down.
You're right. But they're wearing jackets, Cyclops and Jean, on this date.
Oh, yeah.
So I imagine it's cold. What's the fruit market happening, like, late autumn?
It's got, like, mangoes.
Yeah. There was just some inconsistencies in this market scene.
You're watching Cyclops and Jean walk down the street when they've left Phantom of the Opera, and it's just a night. It's like an evening.
It's like they're the only ones who
really
left.
There,
yeah.
And then Leech shows up.
The lynch mob was
also
in the
alone,
waiting. Yeah.
And then they're just like, boom!
Yeah.
All of these, like, burly men are like, get that kid!
Yeah, the X-Men universe is a lot like Springfield, just waiting to form a mob at the drop of the hat. Yeah. Why does Wolverine have a picture of Jean and Scott? Because he's, like, sitting in his bed with both of them.
Maybe he, like, stole it.
Do you think he went into their room? Because here's the thing.
I feel like maybe he just took it.
He's in his costume in his bed, but maybe he's not in his bed. Maybe he just went into their room.
Oh my gosh.
And is in costume.
Oh my gosh.
And holding their picture, and he's just sitting there like, Rrr.
Is this entire show just like this really slow burn stalker flick?
Because I also thought it was funny that he's just at home, like, relaxing, but he's already in costume. Everybody else, like, let's go play pool or something. He's like, I'm ready. And he's supposed to be healing, but he's, like, in full battle attire.
Yeah,
but
he's dreaming.
Yeah, it was just, I guess I just thought it was funny that he had the picture. He's like, I'll also, even though it has Cyclops.
I can't stop picturing it being him, just, like, in their bed. Like, this is what it's like to be you.
Yes, I will turn the light off. Thank you. I'm Bush. You got class tomorrow.
So anyway.
Yeah. The Morlocks. Calypso's here. All right, so we meet the Morlocks. Callisto, yeah. There are new characters of this episode. Not really any other... I mean, they're all cameos, really. I got a list from Wikipedia. So, on Wikipedia, they put the whole crew of Morlocks here.
I wondered who all of them were.
You got Anna Lee, who is the woman who's like, sleep! You want to sleep! You have scorpions!
She's the one that I'm always like, does she really need to be living in the sewer?
I know,
She's just an old lady.
There's Ape. They said Caliban. I didn't see Caliban. He must have been in, like, one of the crowd shots.
Yeah, I didn't see an obvious Caliban.
Callisto, obviously. Erg.
Who's Erg?
He's the one with the hair that's, like, up, and he shoots energy out of Glowworm. Leech, who's the little kid. Mask is also just kind of in the background. But Mask becomes, like, a villain in the late 80s, early 90s. Like, he's the premier Morlock villain.
Oh, yeah?
For a while. Mole, Plague, Scaleface. Plague
was the one who
attacked Gambit. Plague, she in the comics later becomes Pestilence of Apocalypse.
Oh.
You got Scaleface, the one who turns into a dragon. Sunder, the big guy. Tar Baby, who's the one shooting the goop.
I don't like that one at all.
And Tommy. I don't know who Tommy is.
Tommy.
Yeah, but Tommy's there.
Is Tommy the one who's like a shapeshifter? Remember, he pretends to be...
Yeah, he's like, ah! Yeah. Maybe that's Tommy, everybody.
Tommy.
Yeah. So there you go. That's a list of the Morlocks according to Wikipedia.
So they've lured Scott and Jean into the sewers. It's not even sewers. It's like the subway.
They wanted Cyclops because...
they wanted Cyclops, Eric.
Because Callisto wants Cyclops.
Wants an heir.
Yeah.
Not just... She has that whole thing where she's like... First of all, she calls him Pretty One.
Yeah, he is pretty.
And then she goes off about how she needs somebody. She's been looking for somebody to rule beside her. Now, that is already, like, kinky enough. Mm-hmm. But then she's like, she needs an heir.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because
she wants to
Cyclops
get
is
busy.
like, my powers don't work down here. I'm no use to you.
He's so funny. He's so just like flippant about everything.
When she says like, I need someone to provide me an heir, he's like, take out an ad.
He's just so...
Yeah.
There's just something very like whatever about his delivery of all of those.
He doesn't care about these guys. Like, I think it's Storm who at the end of this episode is like, come live with us. Cyclops could care less.
I know. He's just
these
like,
people
right,
should go deeper into the sewer.
I love how he says that thing about his power being like generated
energy.
by the sun or whatever. And then I was sort of like, maybe you should be living
in the
underground
sewer.
and then you could like have your eyes again, I guess.
I also think because she's like, we have to live down here. And sometimes I think like, couldn't the Morlocks like live in the woods? Or in the mountains? I guess eventually you'd have to find your way underground. So I get it.
Well, they live in a city, so it's probably just like, here we are.
In the city.
Now we're going to go...
Yeah, if you're going to live in the New York and you're a Morlock, probably the sewer's the best one. Or just get like a rent control or something. And then they can't kick you out. And you're right, she calls him Pretty Boy.
Pretty One.
Pretty One.
Which I feel like is creepier.
She wants him because he's pretty. But also because he's a warrior.
Yep.
He's a warrior and he's pretty.
A
But
warrior.
nobody seems to mind that they just keep smashing him into walls and floating. Like, he's not going to be as pretty when she's done. You're just throwing him into sewer walls.
I like too that they just completely disregard Jean.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't care about her.
Like the whole plot was just for him, and she's just sort of there.
Yeah. She gets, when she's in chains and they're like, destroy her, she gets like a cool moment where she's just like knocking everyone down and then she gets knocked out again. I guess it's just psychic powers. You have to keep restrained at all time, otherwise we're just like, it would just break the universe.
Right.
So it gets frustrating, but at least she gets to like knock some people around and everything.
she takes them down.
And she, she's smart because she's like, I'm not just going to fight them. Xavier, we're down here. Like she calls pretty quickly, which I thought was good.
Smart.
So the X-Men have to go find Cyclops and Jean down in the sewers. There's a funny bit because Wolverine's still, he's upset about Cyclops and Jean being together and he's not with Jean.
Yeah, there's a lot of brooding.
Yeah, Gambit is saying like, Jean and Cyclops picked a weird place for a date and Wolverine's just like, shut up.
I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah. He doesn't even have to explain it. He's just like, shut up.
Yeah.
And Gambit's just like, he does.
I kind of feel like later Gambit would needle him a little more on that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like this time it sort of seemed like it was just an accident.
I know. If he says shut up, Gambit would be like, no. You shut up.
You'd be like, why?
Yeah.
You don't like thinking about them smooching?
You like to kiss Jean, eh, mon ami? And then they get attacked by the Morlock. I like Rogue's line. It's funny.
I like all of Rogue's lines.
She's not really in the next episode, but I like her. She gets a funny line where she throws Sunder. And she's like, roaches grow big down here.
Yeah,
it's just,
I like that.
It's always Rogue's delivery that makes the, like, that line could be whatever, but she's just so funny about it.
She's got such good delivery.
Yeah.
And there's something about her, like, rapid one-liners.
Yeah.
Like, every time you see her, she's got a one-liner.
Yeah.
I just picture...
Who
is her voice actor?
Lenore Zane.
Lenore Zahn.
Or Lenore Zahn, yeah.
I just like to picture her in, like, the studio or whatever, just doing a line, doing a line, doing a line.
Well, I think it helps, too, that Rogue is, like, invincible.
Yeah.
So, like, if Sunder comes up, she's saying these lines as somebody who's, like, at best can't be bothered.
Yeah.
She's just like, ugh. Like, all her lines can just be delivered as, like, being slightly annoyed.
Yeah.
Gambit is worried about Storm. Because Storm isn't... They're crawling through a tunnel.
Wolverine
right, and he's like, Storm's not going to make it in this tunnel. We should go back or send her back. And Wolverine says, let her ask.
Let her ask.
And I don't know. That seemed... part of me is like, oh yeah, that's a good way to handle it. And part of me is also like, that's cold.
It is cold.
I get it
was
because,
kind of a weird thing because it felt like it was going to go somewhere.
Right, and
then it doesn't.
I mean, I guess he's right because he's saying if she thinks she can handle it, then she can handle it because she's Storm. But it is also kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a complicated thing.
Yeah.
Because, you hear it and you think he's respecting her.
Right.
Because he's not, like, picking up on her weakness and being like, I'll take care of you.
Right.
But at the same time, when your friend has this issue that you know about, you should also there's a part of you that should take care of her.
It's weird. I guess he's respecting the chain of command. Like, she's the field leader.
It's true.
So,
it's true.
So, yeah, they find the X-Men again. They find Jean because what was her name again? Annalee has convinced Jean that she's her daughter.
I have really vivid memories of that moment, and I feel in my memory it lasts way longer.
Oh, really?
Like it feels like more of a part of the episode and not just this tiny.
Yeah, it's a very tiny moment. Yeah, you imagine a whole subplot where she's like,
yes.
Mom, look, I brought pizza.
I do.
That's funny.
It stuck with me.
But then to combat it, she Annalie uses her powers on Wolverine, and Wolverine's like, "Oh no, scorpions!" And I'm like, "Why is Wolverine afraid of scorpions?"
Well, it's interesting because she later on,
he's not
Callisto,
like, "Oh no, every one of my friends has died because of my old age."
Yeah,
he's just like, "Scorpions!"
Because she doesn't know.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Later on, Callisto has sort of gathered intel. She's like been observing
Right.
them fighting, and then she's like, okay, so here's what you're gonna tell them.
Yeah.
And she makes it work. So early on, it's like she's just like, I don't know who you are. Scorpions, they're scary, whatever. I mean, it's a bad
Yeah,
thing
I mean,
to just
Wolverine
pull
gets
out,
through it.
But
It is just funny that Wolverine's like,
yeah, and he does. He
responds to
forces
it,
his
yeah.
way through it, which you sort of wonder if it goes back to his crazy Weapon X stuff. If he's like experienced
maybe
that
they were
kind of like
testing,
mind
yeah.
manipulation before,
Yeah.
because he was just very like, this isn't real.
You think maybe the director of the Weapon X program was being like, how good is his healing ability? Pour the scorpions on him! It was like, no! It's all right, that worked. Bears now!
No bears. I don't want to see him fighting bears.
This Wolverine is not shy about his love for Jean.
Not at all.
He just lets
and
everybody
also,
know.
Cyclops does not seem to care.
No, Cyclops does not care. Cyclops is very confident for a man who just gave a terrible date.
Yeah. Well, and you sort of wonder too. I mean, this is skipping ahead a little bit, but since you brought it up, later when Wolverine takes off,
she has that fun. Yeah.
She very clearly knows it's because of her.
Yeah.
Cyclops seems to have no idea.
He's so clueless.
So is it it seems like he's just sort of like, she's my girl. I'm not worried
He's
about
clueless,
it.
yeah.
But also, does he just not know?
No, I don't think he knows.
Does he just have no idea?
No. He's very he's got tunnel vision.
It's
It comes with
weird.
the ruby quartz glasses.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, my optic glass also gives me tunnel vision. They rescue Jean from Annalie. He's like, "It's okay, Jean. I'm here." It's like the other X-Men are just watching this like,
Yeah.
okay. They have a big fight with the Morlocks. It's one of those big like bring in the theme song fights, which is fun.
Big fight.
I like the Sunder versus Rogue moment where Sunder has the big beam and he's chasing Rogue.
Oh, yeah.
She's not really, like, Rogue is just backing up. And he's like, "I'll get you," and then you hear him go, "Ah!" And he's run away and she's got the beam.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't really have a funny line in that. It's just funny.
Yeah.
Because she's like, okay. Again, she's just annoyed.
I like how they use her in those ways,
Yeah.
and then they always find a pretty legitimate way to sideline her.
Yeah.
Because then, during that fight, Plague gets Gambit, and so then Rogue has to take Gambit away, and so that gets Rogue out of the way, whereas otherwise she would just cream everybody.
Yep. The gist is basically they challenge Callisto to a fight for leadership of the Morlocks.
Yeah, Storm just, like, out of nowhere is like, this is how it's gonna happen,
This
and
is
somehow knows that would be remotely effective.
So this is kind of adapting a comic from Chris Claremont's run. It's Angel in the comics who's taken because he's like this beautiful. He's still very beautiful, but he's got his wings, so they think he should still be a Morlock. And Callisto wants Angel to be.
Well, that would have made a little more sense.
Yeah.
Now that you say that.
But it still leads to the same thing. Storm still challenges her, and it's a big fight. Except in the comics, it's with knives, and Storm straight up stabs Callisto in the stomach and just walks away. It's a pretty intense fight, yeah.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed with the fight in this episode.
Because it's those like
about
lightsabers.
2 seconds. Yes, like the weird lightsabers.
Yeah. We have a comment on Twitter about that from
Malevolent
Samsung.
Samsung?
Yeah, Malevolent Samsung says it's almost Storm and Callisto were the first people to wield their dual-sided lightsabers before Darth Maul took it over in The Phantom Menace.
Yeah, that's so
True.
crazy.
It happened before Star Wars.
Yeah.
Way to go, X-Men.
They got it
Trendsetters.
on the ground floor.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess you can't, Storm can't stab somebody. It's funny because I've been watching...
but like it could have been a more broadly choreographed fight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like this, like, I'm going to rule your people.
Yeah.
And it's just boom, boom, done.
Why do the Morlocks have lightsabers?
Because they're Morlocks.
And there's also, this is the episode where that, like, meme comes from, where Cyclops and Jean are kissing over in the wall, and Wolverine just looks away with a sad face on him. There you go. This is the episode, Captive Hearts.
This is it.
The Wolverine, Jean...
They really want us to be sympathetic to Wolverine.
Yeah.
Like, a lot.
Well, okay, see, it makes more sense in this than it does in the movies, where, we talked about them being like a married couple, which gets a little bit like,
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it's like, well, they're not married, they're not even engaged, and, Jean seems to have similar feelings at times, so...
But they lean heavy on his stuff with Jean, which is interesting because they use it as the impetus for him leaving in the next episode. Everything in this show is so carefully crafted
Wow.
as like a whole piece of work. It's not episode by episode by episode.
Right.
Because it's not even like a moment of foreshadowing
right.
here and there. It's like everything, there's like an entire subplot.
Yeah.
And then it's leading to the next episode.
Yeah.
It's really impressive.
Same thing happens in the next episode. Subplot leads into the next episode.
Yeah. You get the whole subplot.
Did your version have Cyclops wearing gray glasses this whole episode?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay.
I didn't notice.
I was watching, because I watched it on the Disney Plus one, so I don't know, maybe, I don't remember it being on the DVDs, but in the one I was watching, he had gray glasses the whole time.
Weird.
Like, how are these working?
I guess maybe. I didn't notice. Maybe it's like a censorship thing. Those red glasses are just,
too much.
They are iffy.
That's Captive Hearts.
And so now Storm is a queen.
Storm's the queen of the Morlocks.
Cool.
She does offer. She's like, you can come live with us. She's like, our place is we're down here. We live in the sewers now, forever.
We're sewer people.
Yeah, one person was like, maybe when mutants are accepted. I'm like, you're going to be waiting for a long time,
when
you Morlocks.
mutants are accepted. And Storm's just like, okay, you know what? When mutants are accepted, I will give you a call.
I know. It's the same thing in the comics. They give the same reasoning and everything. She's like, fine, Callisto will lead in my place. And it's just like, maybe we'll be back and we'll talk more about it.
Right.
And also there's never like, let's bring you at least stuff. We can bring you sweaters and TVs and
they've made
food.
their choice.
Nope. You're on your own.
Live in the sewers.
Next episode, as we said, is Cold Vengeance.
It's vengeance.
And you're right.
The cold.
The first, the Captive Hearts ends with Wolverine being gone because Cyclops like, Wolverine, we want to thank you for saving us today.
I know. Jean and I want to say thanks.
Thanks, buddy. And why don't you and Jean just go out on a date? Well, I'm not bothered by it.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Like, all his stuff is gone. But they walk in, and I was like, is this the gym?
I think I don't think it's his room.
Yeah.
It looks like they must have been like, oh, we hear he's in the workout room. Because everything's trashed.
So they just mean he's gone from the workout room.
Yeah, when he's gone.
Oh, well.
He must be at the pool.
Let's find him.
They know instantly he's left the premises.
Yep. And Cyclops, I guess starting in the next episode, is pissed.
Cyclops is cranked up to 11 in this episode with his just like normal, like you said, he was funny in Captive Hearts, and he has been like, he's been fun. You get it, he's a leader, he's on a lot of stress, but this one just cranks up.
He's kind of a stick in the mud most of the time.
This one cranks up the prick.
Yeah.
It's just like, because he picks a fight with everybody over everything, but in this one, Jean's like, where did he go? He's like, who cares? What a piece of crap.
We don't need that
He's
jerk.
like, leaves his friend and like, maybe he just left to see a movie?
Yeah.
Maybe he went to McDonald's and he'll be back?
He is betrayed.
No. It's just, so Jean.
And also, he's left before.
Yeah. So Cyclops leaves. He's just going down. He's going to find anyone who will listen. He's like, you want to hear about Wolverine? What a jerk. But then Jean just stands there. He's like, he left because of me.
Because of me. It's
Right.
not her fault.
She
but
shouldn't
I
feel
understand
guilty.
her being upset.
Right.
But
It's just
like she knows that like she cares about him for whatever reason, and like
'Cause
he's
he's Wolverine.
upset because of her. Not guilty.
Right.
I understand the feeling.
She's
though.
sad.
She's sad.
She's sad because he's leaving because
And also she has to kind of hide it.
because Cyclops doesn't know.
Right, because Cyclops is an idiot and has no idea.
Yeah.
And so she's just sort of like alone in that feeling, you know?
I feel like the delivery comes across guilty, but I'm like, it's not.
It does come across guilty.
Don't feel guilt there.
Yeah.
Well, this brings up the question though. Where did Wolverine go?
I go where I wanna go.
You know what, Eric? He goes where he wants to
He
go.
sure does. But he goes skiing.
He goes skiing.
Do you think he skied from New York to Canada?
I think he definitely did.
Or do you think he got to Canada and was like, oh, Mike, I'll take those skis,
I-
please?
no, you have to. When you get to the Canadian border, they're like, please change to your skis.
Yeah, trade in your American
Luckily,
car
he's
for your
a very
skis.
good skier.
Yeah.
So he does fine.
It's just so funny to see Wolverine skiing. But then again,
He does it so gracefully.
and in the future episode, the Nightcrawler episode, they're going on a ski resort.
Yeah.
And so Wolverine is also skiing.
Yeah. It's interesting in this show,
Mm-hmm.
they do little things like that that are less like gruff Wolverine.
Yeah.
And they just do it very seamlessly.
Yeah.
Like it's never like that seems weird.
He's in a hot air balloon, be like,
You're just like, okay, sure.
it's good to be by the Rockies again in my hot air balloon.
So then this episode we start a very deep character piece.
It is, yeah.
About Wolverine.
In Canada, he says there's no place like home. So because it never says Canada across the screen.
It's
so
snow,
you have to know,
so you
yeah.
just assume.
It's funny because he's like, there's no place like home, but then it's just like a desolate snow.
Yeah, he just
scape.
means the nation of Canada.
Yeah, it's just so funny. I'm like, yeah, I guess this looks nice. And he's instantly, the episode just starts with him being like, I'm at peace. And Sabretooth's like, hey, idiot!
Yeah.
Just like jumps down and
So did
attacks him.
Sabretooth follow him, or did they just like bump into each other?
He said he tracked him down.
Okay.
So I think he's
That's
been
cool.
tracking him since, maybe, because like, it was Deadly Reunions with Sabretooth in the fight, and Sabretooth books it after the X-Men shows up. Mm-hmm. Then it was Captive Hearts.
Yeah.
And then Wolverine leaves, so maybe Sabretooth has been like healing and biding his time.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, he's on the move. Now's my chance.
This is another problem with us doing these so sporadically.
you forget.
Because it feels like that was forever
You need the
ago.
intro, yeah.
But it was
Nope.
moments ago.
I actually really liked, I was kind of impressed by the fight animation, the initial
I wrote
fight
that
animation
down. I thought the
between,
movement was really well done.
especially when the camera's like kind of pulled back and
Yeah.
it's maybe like a sketchier type of animation. The fighting is a lot more fluid than it is later in this episode. Mm-hmm. But at the beginning when I was like, hey, that looks good.
Yeah, it's like a noticeable flow to it.
The claws can't really like do anything for the most part because of censorship, but I thought it seemed pretty good. So they fight, and then Wolverine gets lost in the water.
Yeah, does he push him off the ledge?
They fight and fall off the ledge.
Yeah,
Maybe
so then he falls in the water. Is this the part where Sabretooth just stands up there?
He's just giving us a whole speech. He's
like,
like, the water will be your tomb!
Freeze, and I'm gonna find your bones!
Yeah, he's like, yeah, because he thinks he's dead. He's like, may it be a frozen
like,
tomb!
No, he thinks he's dead.
Yeah, and then when he sees him
still
again...
talking.
And then when he sees him again, he's like, oh, you won't deny me! And throws a rock at him.
Wolverine responds just like under his breath. He's just like, I won't have to listen to you anymore.
It's so funny. And yeah, as Wolverine's like, no one can hear, he's like, I'll bury your bones!
He's like fading away off screen.
You know what? Cyclops is great. So is Sabretooth. He's just cranked up. Sabretooth is just giving those speeches to anyone that will listen.
I like his voice actor. There's something about the character in his voice that
You're
I always
blown
really
away
enjoy.
when we get to the Phoenix episodes because Sabretooth is also the voice of Corsair, Cyclops' dad. And I went back to watch an episode ahead just hear the voice, and it's just so warm and cool, and it's just like, wow.
That is so funny.
Yeah. So the moment we were talking about, so Cyclops is PO'd about Wolverine leaving. Who knows if Wolverine needs help? Maybe Wolverine was kidnapped. We don't know.
Screw him. He left his family.
Also, it then cuts back to Cyclops just losing his mind because Gambit's spreading rumors.
Spreading
dangerous
rumors.
Is it a rumor to go like, hey, X-Men who protect mutant kind, I heard there's
From a friend.
There's a nation that's allowing mutants in. Maybe we should check it out.
You need to shut your mouth.
It's so ridiculous. And then Xavier walks in, he's like, what's going on? He's like, I told him. And then Xavier's like, maybe we should check it out. I was like, oh, I guess you're right, Professor. Yeah. Cyclops.
I love, too, because Xavier's like, okay, you pick 3 people. They're going to go on a all-expenses paid vacation. It's going to be great. And then he's leaving, and he's like, chill out, man.
No. Even Xavier's just like, that's too much, pal. Meanwhile, previous episode, Xavier's trying to crush his students between metal walls.
Yes.
And so.
Yes, but
yeah.
Scott needs to chill out.
But it's so funny because Xavier says that and leaves, and everybody's getting ready. Jean's like, we could all use a vacation. And Cyclops is like, yeah, from Gambit. And it's like, no, everybody is leaving the mansion to get away from you right now.
Yep.
Wolverine left, 3 X-Men
Something is going on with Cyclops.
It was just so funny. Yeah, like Storm's like, I need to get away from Gambit.
Oh, that's Gambit.
It's so funny, too, because at the airport, when they're getting ready to fly to Genosha, Storm and Jubilee in clothes, right? Gambit, battle armor. He's in his battle suit and trench coat. And then
Does he ever wear regular clothes?
There's some
episodes.
I remember,
I know I've seen him in regular clothes.
Yeah.
And I feel like he looks too much like Scott.
Sometimes, yeah, without the glasses.
He's got the red hair and stuff.
Yeah, if you dress him up too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just funny. And it's so funny, because Cyclops is like, you 3 will go, and your cover is, you're tourists.
You are tourists.
It's like, well...
Remember, tourists.
It's just like, that's your cover. There literally are tourists.
There's gonna be tourists.
That's what they are, though.
They are tourists.
That's not their cover.
Yeah.
And even Storm, when they land, is like, remember, we're tourists. It's like, yes, you're tourists.
Thank you for reiterating
It's so funny.
our touristness. While they're traveling, I just noticed this little thing that Gambit says something to Jubilee, and it just struck me that whenever he talks to her, he manages to be completely not flirtatious.
Yeah.
Every word he says to every other person,
very
male
flirtative.
or female, is very flirtatious. But he's very successful, that voice actor, at completely transforming it when he talks to Jubilee.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not I guess like the big brother kind of tone. It's not like protective, just like he knows he's talking to a kid.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what I can't identify exactly what the difference is, but it's a very noticeable difference.
I like the Gambit voice actor a lot.
Yeah. Chris Potter.
Yeah, Chris Potter. He's good stuff. Okay, so Wolverine finds a group of villagers who are just living out in the wilderness of Canada, as they describe it, like living with the old ways and against the new.
They say that they're Inuit.
Yes. There's like this jealous kid who doesn't like Wolverine, but to be fair to this kid, who is annoying,
Hat guy?
The hat guy.
I refer to him as Hat Guy in my notes.
He's very jealous because Wolverine's doing all this stuff and people think Wolverine's so good.
Yeah. And boy, do they like Wolverine.
They love Wolverine.
Oh my gosh.
But to be fair to this kid, who is annoying with all his like, I can do this, watch! And is making himself look like an idiot. Wolverine is very obnoxious with that stuff. He's like, look what I can do!
Well, but he's got kind of an old man charm with them.
So old.
He's sort of like working hard or hardly working.
Oh my gosh, no kidding. Because he pulls up the fish net. He's like, reminds me of the one that got away.
Yeah.
And then he says like, I never gave in to fishtails. And everyone on the boat loses their crap at that joke. And Wolverine is just like,
They adore him, and he's just like in his element.
I guess when Wolverine is like showing off, it's when he's the most like
jovial.
It's when he's the most old dad about stuff. Because there's future episodes too where he's like showing off when they're trying to fix the mansion, where he's very much like that.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's like, you can tip me, but don't tip me over. He's just so.
So he's happy because he feels like he's at peace.
He's at peace, yeah.
You see a lot of him brooding in the earlier episode.
There's some advice given to him by the chief, because Wolverine's like, I feel like I'm finally found peace. He's like, no one seeks peace more than those who don't have it. I'm like, well, yes, obviously.
That is very wise.
Yeah.
And prescriptive.
He's very, he's at peace, just living this life now, fishing.
I guess I get the impression from later stuff that he may have been thinking that he would just stay there.
Yeah, it just seemed like maybe he was just like, I can't be under the same roof as Cyclops and Jean anymore.
So he's like, I'm Inuit now.
I can't just keep sneaking in their bedroom whenever they leave and sitting on their bed and writing letters.
That's just a temporary fix.
It keeps cutting back and forth. Not a lot happens on the Genoshan subplot.
Yeah, it's just to keep us there.
But it's funny because when they do get to the desk, Gambit sees a little plaque that says, ask us about our mutant discount. I'm like, do not ask.
Don't ask them about their mutant discount.
You're supposed to be tourists. How obvious
Gambit's
is
like, wouldn't it be funny if we used the discount?
So I guess maybe they did have to reiterate to Gambit over and over, like, remember, you're a tourist.
Yeah.
It's like, what would you do? It's like, excuse us, we'd like to ask about the mutant discount. It's like, oh, actually, we hate mutants here. We're going to kill you now.
Yeah.
That's how we get you.
And the desk guy is so suspicious.
Absolutely.
They walk
like,
up and they're like, we'd like to have a nice vacation. And he's like, really?
Yeah. And when he finds out, the computer shows them. Him all this stuff about them.
It gets like her
eyes, her lightning eyes.
Her retina or something. It's like there's something that they're picking up on.
And then when he finds all that out, he's like, we have a room you would find very interesting.
I think you will certainly enjoy your
You're going to find this vacation to die for.
To die for.
Yes. Don't mind us. We'll just be sentineling about. Oh, no, I did it again.
Roger, you're giving us away.
Yeah. That got me. Sabretooth interacts with the kid, you call him Hat Guy.
So back in Canada.
Sabretooth is still hunting Wolverine. He sees them, him in the village and doing everything. Because he sees them get rescued. He says you have a coward's luck. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, nice, burn, got him.
Coward's luck. Nobody heard it,
but he, jealous kid is all like...
he's kicking a can down the road.
Yeah, he's just walking out in the desolate wasteland by himself, and Sabretooth attacks him.
Yep.
And they team up, of sorts, and to convince him... to Wolverine to go out alone.
Right.
He's like, maybe you want to see an old friend or old enemy? And the old man is just like, your jealousy's made you stupid. Which I feel like could like describe a lot of people in these past 2 episodes. Like everybody's jealousy has made them very stupid.
It's true.
But I just also really like that delivery.
So they go out whaling, I guess?
They're going for seals. Because he says...
No, he says whales.
No, Wolverine says seals. He says...
seals makes more sense.
I think,
I was sure it was...
I think it's seals.
It's possible I just saw the harpoon and was like,
no,
they're going
I think he
whaling.
says, like, we don't have to go any further to find seals or something.
Okay.
Or we're not hunting seals, or I don't know what he says.
Yeah.
And he finds out Sabretooth is attacked because you see smoke and everything. And when they get there, the whole village is destroyed, and Jealous Kid is now Regretful Kid.
Yep.
And Wolverine has that line where I actually kind of... It's funny because it's a little overwrought in the delivery, but there's no peace for me. Mm-hmm. And that's, like you said, like, it seems like maybe he was playing, like, this is his life now.
Right.
And it is kind of sad to be, like, that whole, like, no peace for him. Like, he just has to realize...
He thought, at least part of him, that he could get, if he got far enough away
from all the,
and did like a simple living,
because nobody knows the word mutants or anything,
that he could live this life, but there's always going to be someone coming after him.
Yeah, which I thought was just kind of sad, and I mean it's basic Wolverine. We talked about it last episode when we talked about X-Men Origins and how the director was like, I find Wolverine is a man who wishes peace but can't find it, and we're like, wow, you really got him. But yeah, it comes across a little bit more powerful when Wolverine is like just lamenting it in around these like the desolate burnt village.
Yeah, that's
and he has
sad.
to pull out his costume, which
I know he's so sad about that costume.
Yeah, as a kid, as a teenager when I watched it, that was one of those things I thought was so cool that he like takes his costume out of the backpack. I'm like, why can't I have this life?
Why can't you have a
it's
backpack
that whole,
with costumes?
Yeah, just that a costume reveal. I was like, that really struck me.
You know what, Eric?
What?
You can.
I can. You know what? Fine, I'll sell it. One time, as a teenager, I really wanted to be a superhero. I may have broken away from reality for a weekend or two. So I had a costume that I had made from a whole bunch of different things.
Are you Daredevil?
No, this was not as cool. It was definitely like mostly black, some green. I had a mask and everything. And I went over to my friend's house to go get him. Like, hey, I'm doing this for real now. And he saw me in the costume, and he just like fell down.
Oh,
he could not stop laughing.
Gosh.
And I was like, I guess this isn't the best moment. So
this
I had
is recording.
Yeah, I know. I'm fine with it. Listen, I was of a young age.
How young? It's
young.
gonna be like 17, isn't it?
Maybe more 16, 15. 15. We'll go with 15.
Maybe excuse 15.
We'll go with 15, I believe.
feel a little bit like you're making that up.
The thing is, though, my friend didn't live close, so I had to like go from my house. When I lived in an apartment complex where it was like a U, so like there were just apartments everywhere. So anyone who looked out my window was just like, oh, there's that Mickles boy again in a cape.
It's definitely the Mickles boy.
Yeah, he sure is
no
running.
No question about it.
He sure is working that cape, like just flowing the cape.
Oh
like, look at it.
So did you think you were gonna fight crime?
Maybe more like punk teenagers around my apartment area. I didn't. I actually got my friend in trouble one time. That's a whole story.
Oh my gosh.
Some kids like came over to the playground we were hanging out with, and as we were leaving, I made fun of them, and they started chasing us. So we ran. It was a whole thing.
That's not how superheroing is supposed
so
to
basically, I just wanted the Wolverine taking the costume out of his backpack.
You just wanted it, and you were going to make it
but
real.
I can't do it. Wolverine at one point headbutts Sabretooth, and I feel like they don't really like remind you because it's not like as big, but I'm like, that would hurt.
That would hurt.
So even Sabretooth, that would hurt because Sabretooth doesn't have metal bones. During their fight again with Wolverine and Sabretooth, I think the animation's a little less fluid than it was earlier. And Sabretooth like throws snow into Wolverine's
eyes. And he's like, my
eyes! I can't see scorpions everywhere, scorpions! And it's just...
He's wearing a mask over his eyes.
I just don't get... But there's an issue. It's one of the first... I think it's the first appearance of Sabretooth in the comics. Claremont and Byrne were writing Iron Fist, and he fights Sabretooth in it. And they're in the mountains, and there's snow in his eyes and everything. And the cover is even like Sabretooth being like, you're snowblind! You can't see anything! So... Maybe that's a callback.
Doesn't snowblind just mean that it's snowing right now and
it's
you can't
very
really
bright?
see?
Yeah.
Let's go outside,
and
I'll just throw snow in your face. We will test.
I guess I would be more like, "Ow, that hurt! I think there was a rock in there." Not like I can't see.
Yeah, like it doesn't get in your eyes.
Yeah. The fight between Wolverine and Sabretooth in this is a semi-anticlimactic ending, because this is the last time we're going to see Sabretooth for a while. I honestly think the next time we see Sabretooth is the Weapon X Lies and Videotape episode, which is like season 3 or 4, I think. So it's gonna be a while.
Yeah. And
this was their like last episode. And the only reason Wolverine wins is because he moves to the side. Like he's fighting a video game boss.
Yeah, and there's something about it's not a shot, but basically the shot, that it's like, it happens almost before you really even see it.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know, because some of the fights were a little bit better. I guess, I don't know what else they could do, because they can't have Wolverine just stab Sabretooth to death. I don't know, something else. You don't love Sabretooth. We're not going to see him again for a while.
Yeah, I don't mind that. And then does Wolverine just head home? I guess I don't really remember the
Yeah,
exact ending.
he'll show up in the next episode and be like, "Where were you?" And he'll be like, "I gotta get out. You keep kissing her, and I don't like it."
Cyclops will be like,
Yeah.
"Why would you leave me? Why?" We got a Jean. I was gonna say. in the earlier
Oh yeah,
episode.
he says Jean so much.
Well, he wakes up because they knocked him out, and they're back at the.
Oh yeah,
at
Cyclops
the
says
thing,
Jean.
and
Yeah.
Cyclops wakes up and he's like, Jean.
So that whole plot, that was the A plot, the Wolverine on his own in Alaska, and then we cut back. It's gonna end with the whole Genosha thing. The Storm, Jubilee, and Gambit are just hanging out. Jubilee loves having been to the beach. She's so excited. She's very much like a teenager at a resort, I feel like. I think that's pretty believable. Part of me is like, the whole like, what will I wear? But I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you're a teenager and you're going...
age,
She said it's her first resort. She's been a foster child.
Storm's like, this is as happy as I've ever seen
Yeah, I know.
her.
But they get attacked by people in battle armor and mecha suits and everything.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting how differently designed they were than what we've seen so far. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's a different country.
I think it is the Genoshan armor from the comics.
Oh, yeah?
It seems pretty... I think that's exactly how they looked. Claremont
kind of an
introduced them.
alien kind of a look. They look
Yeah.
like bugs.
Genosha in this show is similar, but also very different from the comics in some ways. Like, Gambit gets his cards out because he's like, this is time for a fight.
Yeah.
And Storm's like, no, we can't endanger human lives. And Gambit's just like, maybe you can't.
Maybe you can't.
Which, you know what? I thought was just like a super cool line. Especially coming from Gambit. Like, Gambit thinks about it too. He has a moment, he's like, yeah, we have to. Like, he reads the situation as having been a scoundrel his whole life. He's like, Storm, I love you. You're a great field leader. In this situation, you're wrong. Yeah.
I like that too. It does.
Yeah.
It says a lot about his character than just that one little thing.
Yeah.
Because it's not disrespectful.
Right.
It's the delivery, I think, that solves that.
Yeah.
Because it could very easily have him just be like, you can't, screw
Yeah.
you. But he's not.
Yeah.
You're right. It's the beat that he takes before he says it. He's like, I want to follow your
Yeah.
orders, but like, I gotta go with my gut on this one.
Yeah. And it's like a line that would come from Wolverine as well. But there's something, I don't know, Gambit's cool in this one. They have a fight, they lose pretty quickly. I think they're doing okay.
It's a huge group that's coming after them.
I mean, I feel like, even with Storm, it's still like they're pretty outnumbered.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, she could summon down a whole lot of everything. But those mech suits are pretty big. But then a Sentinel shows up, which is a big deal because we haven't seen them since Night of the Sentinels.
Yeah.
And now they're on Genosha?
They're on Genosha?
Yeah.
What? So then it's a big to be continued.
I meant to show you this too. I also have this episode on tape.
Episode, all on its very own.
I like this.
What weird artwork.
Yeah, the artwork for this and the comic adaptations of the first season adaptations, they're very much more like trying to replicate the Jim Lee artwork of the comics.
Oh, okay.
So, and I mean, most of the cartoons going for the Jim Lee design stuff too. So there you go. I have this episode on tape as well. I think someone gave them to me or I found them. Either way, they're just fun to display now.
Probably at like a yard sale.
Yeah. Okay. Those were those two episodes.
Yeah.
Captive Hearts, Cold Vengeance.
You know what? About these episodes, the thing that I noticed the most watching them is just that it's just a really fun show to watch.
Okay.
Like a lot of really old cartoons.
Yeah.
You can feel how dated they are.
Yeah.
But there's something about, like, it's the dialogue that is just really engaging. Like, you just like these people in a way that I think
you should use the term X-gauging.
No, I'm not
right.
gonna. I will
Engaging,
not.
then. Sorry. Continue.
Engaging. You just like the characters. You just like the people. You're interested, and like even if they're like fighting Morlocks and doing dumb things, or they're like skiing in Canada. Like the plot almost doesn't matter.
It looked like he was
because
skiing uphill.
Yeah, he was. They do such a good job with the dialogue, and the voice actors are so good that you just enjoy watching them.
I'm surprised, because I know you do not care for the Morlocks.
I don't care about the Morlocks. Although watching it this time, I don't really know why I hated them so much as a child.
Well, you're a mutant bigot.
It's probably because of my bigotry. But yeah, they weren't as like boring and dumb as I remembered. Mm-hmm. I think probably when I was young, I didn't like them because they
live in a sewer.
Because they look different from me.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
was the main no
Yeah.
because they detracted from the other characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that I always liked the most about the X-Men is just watching the X-Men live their lives, which
Right,
we've
we've
talked
talked
about
about
many
yeah.
times about
Yeah.
everything.
You'd rather
But
watch
so-
the 3 X-Men actually
At
be
Genosha,
tourists
just
in
like,
Genosha.
I would legitimately enjoy
and
that.
Storm like trying on a hat, and maybe she's like, "This would look bad." but then-
Jubilee's like, no, you should go for it.
and she's like, perhaps snow.
Yeah, so then I think when I was younger, the Morlocks were just like,
Detracting
okay, whatever,
from that.
yeah, go,
Right.
you live in a sewer, whatever.
Right.
I just didn't care because they weren't the X-Men that I liked.
Right.
But yeah, this time I didn't hate them. It's
Right.
not a terrible plot. I mean, it ends up being kind of dumb that
Right.
Storm is now their queen or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't hate the plots.
Okay.
But what really stood out, as always stands out for me with this show, is the dialogue and their interactions and stuff. They just feel legitimately like friends.
Right.
Which, I don't know, I just feel like that's unique for this time period, for cartoons at this time.
Right. It gets confusing when you're an X-Men and you stop being friends with somebody, because if you say they're my ex-best friend, people are like, so just your normal X-Men friend?
No, it's because we were friends.
Uh-huh.
We're no longer friends. It's set aside from the X-Men thing.
So,
I can
right.
understand. I can understand the difficulty.
Because you said ex-best
yeah,
friend.
Yeah. Because so
And
sometimes
so, like, isn't
Cyclops
Storm your ex-best
is my
friend?
ex-friend.
Right.
Because we're both X-Men.
Right.
This other guy.
Okay.
Ex-friend.
Ex-friends. Okay.
If I say
right.
ex-friend, does that help? Does that help you with
Okay, so they're not X-Men anymore.
Like X. He's still an X-Man. Okay, so this is complicated.
All right, well, I'm glad you're so positive. I have never liked Captive Hearts.
You were just staring at me blankly while I was like praising these episodes.
I know.
I was like, "What's happening?"
Well, I wanted you to say that without me like bringing it down. I guess I've always found Captive Hearts to be rather like a kind of a dull
Is that
episode.
the Morlocks one?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I feel like it's not helped coming off of Deadly Reunions, which was the whole Magneto in the chemical plant, which was the Sabretooth
As
at
far
their
as
house.
action goes, it's a little...
Right. The other episode was more action, but also like the personal stakes were higher for like Xavier and Magneto had that fight and everything. And, like, Xavier was in battle, and Wolverine is having that thing where he wants to fight Sabretooth, but the X-Men won't let him. And so, like, the stakes are higher on a whole bunch of different levels. And then you come to this Morlock episode where it's just, like, that bad date, and then the Morlocks. And, like, I actually don't mind the Morlocks in the comics. There's some stories I like, but I guess there's just something about this episode that I've always kind of, like, maybe it's because it's in the sewers, so, like, even the background is kind of dull.
Yeah, it's drab.
It always just kind of comes across like, oh, Captive Hearts. Cold Vengeance also leaves me a bit cold.
Oh, boy.
And I think it's just because it's still limited by... I mean, it is a very, like, mature show. But I think it's still limited by, censorship and, Fox Studios, like, target audience. They get a lot of Wolverine's pathos through with the whole, like, peace thing. But there's still kind of like this cheesier humor. Like you said, the old dad stuff. And then like the Wolverine Sabretooth stuff is a little bit neutered because
they can't just be stabbing
Right, they can't just be stabbing each other. And it's kind of like, well, what can you really... You can't really kill either one of them off.
Yeah, they just keep falling off cliffs.
Yeah. And also, it's the same thing where like now the background is just all white. And so they come across as like less colorful, less... And, what are the stakes? The stakes are like, will the X-Men go up some stairs at the end of Captive Hearts? Will Wolverine not live here? Will he go back home?
He's not going to live there anymore.
You're right. The next episodes with Slave Island and The Cure, and I think those are much stronger episodes because, again, the stakes are higher in either on an action level or a personal level.
Yeah.
And, we'll talk about those episodes when we do.
Well, it makes sense structurally to have kind of a lull for a couple episodes and then we build back up again. Yeah. But you're right. And it's like in Captive Hearts, even when they're defeated, you never really feel like the X-Men couldn't just escape. Like, right out of the gate, as soon as they're fighting, I mean, it's Jean and Cyclops against, like, 5 of the Morlocks, and it's not even a competition. Like, they're better than them.
Retrospect doesn't help it because the Morlocks do not show up again until, like, the pretty rough Christmas episode. So, the Morlock Christmas episode. So, it's just kind of like, well, this was just
It's like an inconvenience.
Yeah. I feel like coming off of Night of the Sentinels, Enter Magneto, and Deadly Reunions, that these 2 episodes kind of suffer from that. But, you're right. They're still strong, and they're still better than a whole bunch of other cartoons that might have been trying to deal with it. Like the Ninja Turtles cartoon, as popular as it was never dealing with anything.
Oh, no.
It was always just comedy and goofiness.
Just, silly, fun.
And, compared to like G.I. Joe or He-Man or stuff, it's not like He-Man's like, but I want to find peace! Can I be He-Man and have peace? So like, even though it's kind of, I don't know, brought down to a younger level in some ways, Wolverine's journey of like accepting that he's always going to have to be the Wolverine. I mean, that's a subject that like they did for like the 2 movies. They did the Wolverine where he's in Japan, and then Logan. They're dealing with the same things that this episode was dealing back in 1992 or 93. But it's just funny because I normally have no problem with the Morlocks, and you're just like, ugh. And here we go.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll give you some Morlock reading material.
Oh, great. I would love that. I would really love that, Eric.
And also a Sabretooth episode, and you don't like Sabretooth.
Yeah, I know.
You had a good time with things that you don't normally like.
Well, I like the introspection.
Yeah. Maybe you're a big Sabretooth Morlock fan now.
Maybe
we should ask for a crossover where
is.
Sabretooth is leading the Morlocks.
I love it. I have completely flipped. I'm on the other side.
All right, so next time we talk about this, like I said, it's going to be Slave Island, which is the Genosha episode, and then The Cure, which is Rogue on Muir Island, hearing about a cure.
A Rogue episode!
With Angel.
Yay!
And then that leads into Apocalypse. Yeah, well, you'll be happy then.
She's so sad because she can't touch anyone.
Well, Wolverine was sad because in some ways he also can't touch anyone.
He can't touch anyone with his soul.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm Dust vs. Tweak everywhere online. Apart from other shows on the Radio Meanwhile Network, I'm the co-host of the podcast, The All the Book Show. Thank you to Prophetic Music for our theme song. You can join us for our next episode for our character spotlight.
To be determined.
To be determined. I was arguing for Mystique, but you seemed less than thrilled by that.
We could do Mystique.
Yeah?
That'd be fine.
Okay. Well, then it might be Mystique.
Maybe it'll be Mystique. You can take to Twitter and vote.
That's true. Well, that was what happened. We did the Cyclops
That's right. Everyone wanted the blue people.
Yeah.
They wanted Mystique, they wanted Nightcrawler, they wanted
Beast.
Beast.
Yeah,
so,
one person was like one of the blue ones.
We should do one of those.
Yeah, because after Cyclops, like, who would you like a spotlight next? I was kind of surprised. A lot of people said Gambit, and I had to remind them we just did the Gambit episode. So we will do a legitimate Gambit spotlight sometime.
Later.
Yes.
Later.
But if you're hankering for it...
you know what's funny so far? I mean, we did the Gambit thing, but so far we've sort of been doing not the main X-Men for our spotlights.
It's true. We
did
Scarlet
Witch, who's barely an X-person.
Yeah.
And then...
Yeah, we got some guff about that.
Who else did we do?
Well, we did Cyclops.
Oh,
He's as X-Men as he gets.
Forget I said anything.
He's as the main X-Men as you get. We did him so we could cover other X-Men.
Never mind.
So it's funny, we're going to talk about him, and then we're going to talk about Mystique, who has no connection with Cyclops.
No connection at all.
Well, maybe some. I mean, she's probably tried to kill him.
Are we locking in Mystique?
That'll be fun.
We'll do Mystique.
Woo! Especially because we just covered the movies. Enough of that. And she's going to be coming up in some episodes.
True.
Next episode.
In Genosha?
And she's a cameo in Slave Island.
Oh.
But then she leads the Brotherhood of Mutants during the... Oh, no, she's in the Apocalypse episode. She's in both episodes.
Were you just making Spider-Man?
Yeah, I was doing
motions?
Spider-Man. I don't know why, because I was... You know what? I was doing Pyro from the cartoon, shooting his fire, because she leads the Brotherhood. But yes, that was more Spider-Man motions.
Like, distinctly Spider-Man.
Oof. Again, you can find more about this show and others like it at our network's website, radiomeanwhile.com. Please follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Previously on X, where you can vote for... character spotlights.
We've already decided. Oh, yeah, for future spotlights.
For future spotlights. Yeah. Please rate, subscribe, and share the show on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. And thanks for listening.
Yeah, the end.
We're still recording, though.